I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Now, okay, I just wanted to do a two minute. I'm going to try to limit it to 2 minutes recap. A too long didn't watch recap of the reasons why I'm voting for Trump and not Harris in the next upcoming presidential election. All right, I'm going to try to time this here. Try to keep it at 2 minutes. The first reason why I put in the intro there, where Tim Walz is claiming that the First Amendment does not protect misinformation or hate speech. That's okay. That's the main one of the main reasons I'm not voting for the Harris Walz ticket. Is they're a threat to free speech. They're in Great Britain. They're already arresting people. I think for speech. I know they are. It's like they arrested like 3,000 people in last year. One person, just as an example, was arrested for saying that Scientology is a cult. Yes, one person was arrested and put in jail for claiming Scientology is a cult because the government said that is hate speech. So that I don't want to get arrested for making such claims. I think Scientology is a cult myself, but I think, but you never know it's up to the government. Once you allow them to decide what is misinformation and what is hate speech, then they get to decide. You don't get to decide what is not hate speech or misinformation. They do. The second reason that I'm not voting for Harris, two of the main reasons. The second main reason is that this might be over just a little over 2 minutes. Is that I think that Harris Walz is a bigger danger for getting us into our World War III nuclear Armageddon. I do not want that. In the debate, Harris, I believe, extremely over-exaggerated the danger that Putin is going to invade any other European country, any NATO country. Putin has given absolutely no indication of doing that, but Harris is extremely underestimating the danger of going head-to-head and escalating things regarding the proxy war against Russia via the proxy Ukraine. That could easily lead to World War III if we keep poking the nuclear armed bear of Russia through the Ukraine war. If we escalate things any further, there is a very real danger of getting into a quagmire where things escalate into a direct conflict, not merely a proxy war against Russia, but a direct war. Once you get going directly against Russia, that's World War III, and that is really putting you on the precipice of falling into a nuclear war, and then we're all cooked. Then I do not want that. So that's the two main reasons that I delve into further in the video, my commentary that follows. Oh, this is just going over just a little bit over. That's going to be closer to 4 minutes, but that's okay. So, all right, that's my pre-cap. Too long didn't watch of the reasons why I'm voting for Trump. I think that Trump is much better for terms of free speech and keeping us out of World War III nuclear Armageddon. So I think it's safer for keep protecting our freedom of speech. It's not that I'm a big fan of Trump. I'm still not, but I think that those are the two main reasons I'm going to vote for Trump in 2024. And okay, that's enough. That's up 4 minutes. So we're already into the 4 minute point. So I tried to keep it 2 minutes, but I kind of doubled the time just a little bit. So now I'm going to go into cut this off here. This is supposed to be just a quick recap. I talked as quick as I could. That's all for now. Thank you, and watch the rest of the video if you have the time. Thanks. Bye. It's true. I have decided to vote for Trump in 2024. Not that I'm a Trump fanboy, but even though I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And now, ironically, one of the reasons I voted for Hillary back in 2016 is I was thinking at the time that she was less likely, the lesser likely of the two between her and Trump to start a nuclear war. So, I don't want a nuclear war. I'm trying to avoid that. But in hindsight, I think actually, in seeing what happened after Trump did get elected, that, well, no nuclear war happened. That's first and most important. And I'm wondering, I'm thinking back, actually might have been more likely that Hillary Clinton would have gotten us into a nuclear war via Syria, because she was a lot more hawkish, Hillary was, towards Syria and Assad. And when there came time when there was the conflict, where there was a strike, I believe Trump did order some strike against Syria during his presidency, but it was very limited. But even though he was getting a lot of pressure from the military hawks to turn it into a total war, a real full-blown invasion and military strike on Syria to oust Assad. But the problem, if that would have happened, and I think that might have happened if Hillary was president, that could have resulted in World War III and global resulting potentially also in global thermonuclear war. But because Hillary, she was so hawkish against Assad in Syria, and so but that the problem there is that among the many problems there is that Russia already has troops in Syria, and they are aligned with allied with Assad, and so that could have, if we would have done a total war against Syria, that could have easily we could have easily struck the Russian troops, and then Russia could have gotten involved in retaliating against the U.S., and there goes everything. That's all, folks. So I'm glad that Hillary lost. Also, Assad is actually a rather progressive leader that protects Christians and women. He protects women's rights and religious freedom. They're in Syria, so it's completely opposite of what you're hearing from the mainstream media. And so and there's the mainstream media that has been so heavily biased against Trump, and so that's probably one of the main things is that, and then when you hear in the debate, Kamala Harris is all hawkish, also against Russia. Regarding the proxy war against Russia that's already ongoing with Ukraine as the proxy. Now that, of course, could also lead to a global thermonuclear war in World War III if we were to directly engage with Russia, because obviously this proxy war is not it's not panning out. Well, it's not so obvious to the mainstream media audience, but if you do a little bit of research, you'll be able to find out. Even with the mainstream media, you'll be able to. They're even starting to acknowledge it. No, Ukraine has no chance, even with all this massive I think it's probably over $100 billion of military aid at this point. Even with all this massive aid, Ukraine cannot prevail against Russia. It's just a matter of time before they lose, and so it's either they're going to lose, or NATO's going to directly engage with Russia. And if the NATO directly engages, then that's World War III. And that greatly increases the chance of nuclear war. And but Kamala in the debate, she was claiming that if if Russia succeeds against Ukraine, then she claims that Poland will be next. Well, where is she? Is she delusional? Putin and the Russian leadership have given no indication whatsoever that they're going to invade Poland. After all, Poland is a member of NATO, and Putin knows very well that there's a mutual defense agreement, and he does not. So that once, if they were to invade Poland, then all the rest of the members of NATO, including the United States, are going to go defend Poland, and then that's World War III. They already, just from this war, it's been a terrible cost for Russia. They've lost, there's thousands of young men, and it's and of course the financial cost is enormous. But the main problem is the cost of lives. The toll has been enormous for Russia. But there's support for it, for the war against Ukraine, and only the war against Ukraine amongst the Russian people. But also you're going to hear, and the reason why there's support is because there's more to the story than you're hearing from the mainstream media. The fact is that back in 2014, the Western NATO and the deep state, they orchestrated a coup to overthrow the democratically elected president or leader of Ukraine, and installed their own puppet. And the reason they did that is because the Ukrainian government was willing to do business with Russia. And of course, NATO has an OCD fixation on Russia as the white whale for some reason, for whatever reason that is. And so they're just they could not handle that, given the all the resources of Ukraine, and they're on the border with Russia. So they overthrew the democratically elected. NATO did overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine and installed their own puppet. But the problem was that for NATO in the U.S. and the Western deep state, is that in the Donbass region of Ukraine, that's predominantly ethnically Russian. They were still aligned in supporting the ousted democratically elected leader of Ukraine. They wanted to bring him back into power, and so they want. But so of course the Ukrainian government, the puppet government of Ukraine, did not like that, so they started shelling the Donbass region. And for 8 years, from 2014 to 2022, they kept bombing and shooting their own people. Which is ironic, given that in the Ukraine war, in the Iraq war, the justification for invading and overthrowing Saddam Hussein's government was that he was allegedly gassing his own people. So that was considered so egregious and so rotten that that was considered justification in itself to overthrow the foreign government of Iraq. But now you're looking at, that's what Ukraine has been doing. They've been killing their own people, not gassing them, I don't think, but just bombing them and shooting them, and it's resulting in the deaths of some 14,000 is the estimate of Ukrainians that were killed by Ukraine's own government in the past, over the 8 years from 2014 to 2022 until the start of the invasion by Russia. So that of course you don't hear about that on the mainstream media. They don't talk about that. They act like Putin is a Dr. Evil, and he just on a whim he decides, I'm going to invade. I'm going to invade Ukraine because I'm a megalomaniac. I haunt Ukraine, so I'm going to go after them just because I just woke up today. I decided, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to invade Ukraine. But no, that's not how it is. It's the Ukrainian people in the Donbass region. They were they were aligning themselves with the ousted government, and that was willing to do business and work with Russia. And so they paid the price by the puppet Ukrainian government. The coup government didn't like that, and so they just bombed and shelled them relentlessly for 8 years. And so the Russian people back in Russia, they were outraged by this, and so there's a lot of pressure put on Putin to do this invasion because it was so egregious violation. That Ukraine was killing their own people, and so that eventually the Donbass people in the Donbass region, after the invasion, then when they had a chance, they held elections of their own, and decided to become a part of Russia through the democratic process. And then these Democrats who are claiming that Trump is going to ruin democracy. We got to elect Kamala to save democracy, but why don't they respect the wishes of the people of Ukraine, of the Donbass, eastern Ukraine, to when they through electoral democratic process voted to join, has become part of Russia. So it's such hypocrisy by the Democratic Party, and that's part of it. Why I'm voting for Trump, because I think he recognizes that this proxy war against Russia with Ukraine as the proxy is extremely dangerous. It's none of our business. It's a foreign thing between Ukraine and Russia. It's not our fight. Russia's not going to invade Poland. There's no interest in any of the NATO countries of Europe. Highly unlikely he would invade. Putin would invade any other Eastern European countries. The costs are enormous, and he respects their sovereignty. Thing is it was the Ukrainian government, the coup government, and NATO. They're the ones that welched on the Minsk Accord. There's an agreement that between Russia and Ukraine and I think in the NATO nations, but I'm not sure exactly what all the parameters of it, but Russia held their end of the bargain. That's a fact. But the fact is, Ukraine did not. Ukraine and the West did not hold their end of the Minsk Accord bargain. They welched on it. And in Russia also did not wanted to make sure that Ukraine did not become part of NATO. And there was they're showing signs. Ukraine was kept saying, "Oh, we want to become part of NATO," and Russia would not have that country that's right next to them become part of NATO, given the history there. And so that's there's that, and also even so, and before this Russian invasion of Ukraine, there was there's widespread recognition that the Ukrainian military does have a Nazi problem. There's a large infestation of Nazis in the Ukrainian military. Now, usually the West is against Nazis. U.S. and the West are against Nazis, but and there was actual publications of it. U.S. members of Congress called out this problem even, and there's publications, mainstream media publications about the problem of right-wing extremists and Nazis infesting the Ukrainian military. But this was, but after the invasion, it was sort of like kind of ignored basically this problem, and it continues to be a problem with the Ukrainian military. And so I'm against Nazism and Nazis. So that was part of the deal that Putin's demands that Ukrainian military needs and government needs to be cleansed of its Nazi problem. That seems like a good demand to me, very reasonable, but you don't hear about that now in the mainstream media. So you have Kamala just really sounding like a total warmonger and just itching for a fight with the nuclear-armed Russia. That's extremely dangerous. It's downright scary. I don't want any part of it. I think we should just let, if Russia shows any signs of invading any Western or NATO nations of Europe, then we can talk. But we shouldn't be risking nuclear war over some politicians' delusions. And I think Kamala Harris is delusional in her assumptions or presumptions that Poland was going to be next after Ukraine. That's really reckless, dangerous. She's going to take this whole planet down with her if she starts treating Putin and Russia as the white whale, nuclear-armed Russia. The whole ship is going to come down. It's like she's like Captain Ahab. I think that's extremely dangerous. We should all be concerned. And so I think that the best chance of peace, I want peace, is with Trump. So that'd be the first reason. The second reason is just basic reasons of freedom in the First Amendment. I think Trump is better at protecting that. There's been with the Biden-Harris administration, there's been widespread weaponization of the Justice Department, of everything from January 6th protesters to, there's the case of Douglas McKay, who was arrested, charged, and convicted for posting a meme on Twitter. And so I think that was a gross violation of the First Amendment. And so that's just another case of the many cases of, and a lot of the January 6th protesters were peaceful, and they're actually ushered into the Capitol grounds, and so they were peaceably assembling, and that's guaranteed right by the First Amendment. But the FBI has, if they were just inside the Capitol on that day, the FBI would come in with all their full forces, their whole SWAT gear, and taking them down in a rather violent and aggressive fashion, with guns blazing, and he's heavily armed. It's just where the process is the punishment, just this process where actually their FBI becomes the terrorists. This is a dangerous dangerous development. It's a violation of our whole foundation for our country. I think the only reason that we are exceptional as a nation is our First Amendment and our guaranteed freedoms. But I mean, you could say, people say, well, we have all these opportunities to start a business or whatever. But they have that in the UK also, but the UK is now becoming, you've already criminalized thought crimes. They have the thought police now, where they're arresting people for what they post online. And I think like 3,000 people in the last year. They're arresting more people than, like 10 times more people than Russia has arrested for their speech. So it's become much more of there's a trend going on right now of around the planet of supposedly Western democracies that are have these thought crimes, arresting people for the criminal offense of misinformation, and which really is, misinformation is really a synonym for heresy. Where we're kind of regressing back to the medieval era, where they had the Inquisition trying people and convicting people of thought crimes back then for committing heresy. That's what's really going on now. But now the heresy, the church has been replaced by now the new equivalent of the church from the medieval ages and the Inquisition is this woke leftist World Economic Forum globalist governing body elites. They're sort of like this woke religion, and if you don't comply, if you don't agree with their position, everything you say is heretical. But they just call it misinformation. But it is what it is heresy. And so this is like the new Inquisition that's going on around the world, and I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen in a Harris administration. Is that what's going to come to the U.S. now? They're just trying to test the waters. They're trying to test as much as they can to get away with in these cases, like the January 6th cases and the Douglas Mackey case, where they're trying to test the boundaries of what's allowable, what people call out as violations of the First Amendment. And if they can get away with it, they think, oh, let's try something a little, just like level it up, see what we can get away with next, because they've already gotten away with so much already, with very few people in the mainstream calling it out in the system, in the judicial system. So I think they're just gonna keep on testing and see. Oh, let's see if we can do that. Let's see what we can do next. And the next thing you know, someone like myself could get a knock on my door saying that I'm spreading misinformation, and that even Walz is he's on record as saying that he didn't think that misinformation is protected by the First Amendment. So that he's already giving it away, what they have in store for us if they're in their administration. Maybe I'll post that on here where Walz is talking about how he doesn't think that the spreading misinformation is a protected speech according to the First Amendment. So this is extremely dangerous. I don't want to face a nuclear war. I want to survive, and also I do not want to get arrested for saying when posting online or making these videos. And I think my best chance at avoiding those calamities would be for Trump to be president. I think he'd be much more likely to keep us out of a nuclear war, and also to protect our First Amendment rights. We didn't see this kind of heavy weaponization of the Justice Department during the Trump administration. And also, we did not have any kind of full scale total wars going on under his administration either. So I like those. I like that. I think that's a good thing. So yeah, those are some of the reasons why I'm going to definitely vote for Donald Trump in 2024. So that's. I think I've talked long enough now. I guess that's all for now. Thanks, and if you're still watching, thanks for watching. Yeah. Mm-hmm.